Hello, everyone, and good morning. We are so excited that you're here with us today. I am so happy to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Stephanie Hield. She has so much knowledge to bring to the topic today. I call on her for advice and how to do things all the time. So I know that you're really going to enjoy this presentation. So sit back and relax, and Dr. Hield, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shipley. She was so sweet to come on here and give me an introduction. I wanted to just save her voice. So I just want to tell you a little about myself before we jump into the presentation. I've been fortunate to work with Ashford since 2008. Currently, I'm an assistant professor in the early childhood education program. And I am thrilled to be here today. Dr. Shipley, would you just press record for us? And I'm thrilled to bring you some new knowledge today about a new digital device and tool that I do think will help not only in the early childhood community, but in the community of educators. Okay, I'm going to go off camera and on we go. So welcome to Building Virtual Presence. Building virtual presence to create positive relationships. And today, I just want to give you a moment to look at the screen. Ashford University does not lead to immediate teacher licensure in any state, and I just want to give you a moment to read the disclosure on the screen. Okay, and we will move on. In addition, there are several links to other websites and institutions provided in this presentation, and we just want you to go ahead and again read the disclaimer on the screen.
Okay.
Okay, and we are going to move on. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and minimize the chat. There will be a chance at the end if you have any questions about what I am saying and talking through to ask, but just know right now if you do have something in the chat, I will not be able to catch it right away. So I just want to take another moment and thank you for joining me today. I really do love that we can come together monthly for this virtual experience, and I do hope that today's lesson can just spark some enthusiasm and some inspiration. As Dr. Shipley mentioned, I am a mom to two very busy sports boys, and I've really kind of always made them my biggest priority. Over the years, I've come to value strategies that help me be efficient with my time so that I can be that role as mom first and educator. I grappled with this, and I grappled with supportive partnerships in both roles. We know most families today are like that. They're juggling many moving parts. And regardless of their socioeconomic demographic, our families are often working households, and that's accompanied by those other life commitments that definitely makes for the complexity of time. I can remember when I was a classroom teacher that I really wanted my parents to be involved with their child's education. I sent home projects. I had big thematic units and bags that I sent home with my kiddos. I invited them into the classroom to read. I organized several out-of-school activities. Can you guys remember doing some of those? When I became a mom, my perspective shifted a bit. It included a level of pressure alongside of this. It included a level of stress that was connected to these. At times, I hated the assigned family projects. I didn't have time to do a project on Johnny Appleseed, and I didn't want to be burdened with finding resources, arguing with my kiddo about the neatness on his poster, and wondering where to look for the grading criteria. I'd get irritated with last-minute reminders from his backpack all crumpled up, and I would be irritated that I needed to go at 9 o'clock at night to the grocery store to get whatever supply that was needed for an event. And honestly, I despised Common Core at one point simply because I didn't know actually what was happening in the classroom. Can anyone else relate to that? But I was a teacher, so I needed to reflect on how to merge these two worlds in a way that was manageable for families today, manageable for me as an educator, and also something that my families would see in a positive light as a parent. The basis for these partnerships and how they fit in our lives today had to change because, as I told you, as an educator, my partnership I thought was strong, but as a parent, man, I didn't have many positive feelings at all. I realized my families did use technology. So as an educator, I needed to devise ways to merge the two worlds to be conducive to today's family schedules and priorities without being a burden. As you can see on the screen, the latest research shows us that many of our families, if not all of our families, have access to some sort of technology. This is a huge functional shift from the past that we really needed to be mindful of then, because not a lot of families did have access. But we know today this link, this percent of families that have access is growing. And it also, this link provides a connection to the breakdown where we look at age, race, gender, income, education, community. And what we see is that the overall adoption gap using technology is decreasing. What does that mean? It means across the board, more individuals are gaining access to technology. So when I think about this statistic, it shows me that there's definitely a place for technology in our outreach as an educator. Knowing that 90% of our population has access to a computer and 96% have access to a cell phone, that really led me to reflect on how I could use this to bridge the gap between home and school in a way that was not pressuresome or burdensome, in a way that would help the lack of time, communication, and availability that I was feeling at times, both as a parent and an educator. I needed to find a way to use technology more effectively and more efficiently. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that we do have to think about all of our families. So a strategy right off that I would recommend is to send out one of those paper pencil surveys at the very beginning of the year and just include questions about access to technology. It's likely that many of your families will have this, but if not, I do still encourage you to differentiate and provide those families that do not have access to it the same level of support. That is a different presentation, but I do just want to address that. So when I think about the digital world, and given this hard data, I'm really not here to just push technology to simply push technology, but I wanted it to be amazing, useful technology. I wanted to make sure that the digital presence I was offering was something families could benefit from, something that they could enjoy and see in a positive light. I wanted to connect those two worlds by showing that digital presence. And I wanted a broad outreach, but yet I needed it kind of individualized. I wanted it relevant to provide supports and to be in a positive light. When I mentioned it, I want individuals to be excited, not stressed, burdened, and disengaged that I sometimes felt. So I do recognize some familiar names in here from the chat, and I just want to take a pause for a moment and kind of lead you back to the Early Childhood Education YouTube site. From this, I did a presentation a few months back on some amazing digital tools that are an awesome starting point just to use in your teaching. At any point, this presentation is here, and it really goes over immersive storytelling, virtual literacy bags, virtual learning communities, and field trips. I'm going to stray away from this today and show you a whole new digital tool that you can use. But if you are at the starting point with how to integrate this into your educational environment, I would definitely recommend checking this out as a first go-to. Today, I'm going to go a little more in depth. And I'm going to talk about a new product that was a new feature that I had learned about called Google Classroom. So a quick rewind to the preparation for this, where I really wanted to share something cool because I do like technology and my teammates know that I do love cool new learning tools that I can share. But sometimes I kind of just hit that block. And I wanted something that I would be able to be used as a professional who taught in higher education, in early childhood classrooms and elementary classrooms. But again, as I said, also useful to families. So I began to research and I kept coming back to this main framework called Google Classroom. So I continued to dive a little deeper and look at some online learning tools and at how this Google site, which I'd used in the past and was very familiar with, was different than Google Classroom. So as you likely know, the Early Childhood Education group has a Google site, and it is an awesome tool to build a website, a really basic website. Well, I learned that this Google Classroom is kind of like a step up from that. And it was actually created for targeted teaching so that teachers could be more productive and meaningful, because it really tries to increase collaboration and communication between the teachers and the families, the educators and the families. So educators can, in essence, create classes, share classes, assign individual assignments, send messages and feedback, and see everything else in one place. And to be honest with you, when I thought back about my time and my frustrations, a lot of that was simply not knowing a lot of the information that I needed. If I had something in that one spot that I could always go to for assistance, I had to believe some of the pressure would come off me as a mom. So schools and nonprofits do get Google Classroom as a core service for free. But the really cool thing is no matter who you are, anyone with a personal Google account, Gmail account, can also use Classroom for free. So I really did love that feature. Students are actually able to set up Google Classrooms and have Google Sites and portfolios on here for free. So that was a great feature that really kind of attracted me first and foremost to Google Classroom. So as I looked deeper into building one of these things, I really had to take a dive and think about back to what my focus was, what my first thoughts was. And what I really wanted is to see if I could make this family friendly, because it's great that we have another tool to use online, but if it's not effective and efficient and it's not replacing or making something more usable for me as an educator and my families, there was no sense in sharing it with others. So I didn't want something that was too complicated to navigate or set up. So since many of my time is limited, I really wanted something that was basic. And I will tell you, this is pretty basic. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. It doesn't have a lot of graphics and aesthetics. But what it does have is a very valuable system of organization that allows me as the teacher to be efficient, as well as allows everything to be housed in the same site. It allows me to communicate with families on a broad scale, but it also allows me to kind of separate and really reach out to my students and families and groups on a very individualized scale. So what I like about it is it offers a code. You can see the code at the top where it says class code, and I can share that code with my family so they can access it. Once they are in, at their leisure, they can come to this one spot where I can house all information, and I'll dive deeper in that to show you kind of what that looks like. But it's just one file cabinet, one place, one room where they can come and they can access me in real time, synchronous time. They can access synchronous documents and asynchronous documents and resources and websites and links and presentations and all those things. And then this is when, honestly, I really started to get excited. So the other thing that really encouraged me to use this more is that I tested it on several devices. I did have some test subjects come in and see what these pages looked like and what the files looked like on mobile devices, tablets, work computers, desktops, laptops, across platforms, across cell carriers, all these different things. And really, they were able to access it with very, very little user error, very little platform error. So it does, like I said, it does lack in visual appearance, but at the same time, it really allowed me to reach a broad outreach of audience. This homepage that you're seeing right now with the announcement and everything really took me about 5 minutes to make. I am tech savvy, but I will tell you it is something that is very, very, very user-friendly, which is what I loved on it. So on this main page, or my landing page for this particular one, you can see that I started to share some things that would just be very meaningful in the startup of family partnerships. Obviously, this can be added to over time. So this is not a product. It certainly is a process and work. You can add several announcements to this during the day. Just real quick, 2 seconds log in. Hey, we worked on this today. Talk with your child about feelings and emotions. And it just really is an awesome way to get it out there. The announcement feature allows to share something with the class, or again, I can go to specific students or families in a really quick manner. For this particular one, I did not add people, but at the very top, you can see the tab for people where you can create groups. You can, like I said, reach out individually to your students. It's just all right here. It populates with your email, so there is no need to go out to any other resource than this Google Classroom, which is super cool. I can add text in there. In the announcements, I can add links, images. I can connect to Google Photos and put pictures of the classroom and what we're doing during the day. I can add digital tools, PowerPoints, videos. And the coolest thing is I can even add little video messages of me. So if I really just wanted to greet my families on a Monday morning that, it was rainy all weekend and I just wanted to say to them, I am sure your child was inside all weekend. We're looking forward to a good day of learning. And just think about how positive that would be if they heard from me on a Monday morning at their leisure when they went to check this site and just got a quick little inspirational, uplifting message. What I love, again, is that universal capability. So it allows me to go across devices, platforms, carriers, and I don't really have to worry about compatibility issues for the most part. As with all technology, there are little snafus that we have to worry about, but for the most part, I did find that a lot of individuals across platforms did not have any problem accessing the material. So that was exciting for me. So in this classroom, you can see that, again, one of the things that I like is it's far-reaching. I can post an announcement and my entire class can see it. So if you have an early childhood education environment, or for that matter, if you have any education environment with 23 students, you can include all those students who have the code and have linked into your classroom. So anyone, and you're able to see who's in and who sees it, which is also very helpful. What also set this apart from the other websites that I've shared in the past, such as Weebly and Wix, is the fact that you can create classes and groups, and it's far-reaching and offers that code. But again, you can set up individualized and differentiated subgroups and resources for your families. There's the ability to add assignments here and grades, which I'm not going to address today at all because it is likely these are not utilized in the ECE classroom. But there are other features there for educators in here who might be interested in another level that are pretty amazing. So as you can see, I posted an announcement and I included visibility for all my families. And I think it's just great because if you look there on that community forum, I really was able to pick just 2 sentences to my families. Hey, I want to get together. What dates are best? They are able to answer a poll. And again, it is all integrated for me as a teacher to go in and see where this is. The other thing that it allows me to do is that they are able to go ahead and click that and see, and then they can send me a message. At the top left, you can also see that little green light that says, I'm here in office hours starting now. If I'm down at my complete computer planning or grading and they just need a real quick check-in with me, they're able to message me right there. I don't always have my phone on me all the time. Parents do likely have theirs on them. It's not something I check when I'm in the classroom, but if I'm sitting at my computer, they're able to just shoot me a quick message. And then when I return to my desk, or I'm able to see what they need, how to address their needs quick. The other part of this that I really love is the fact that with that building community event, it also then prompts them with a calendar reminder. And again, this does, go off platforms to add to different calendars. So it makes it super cool because they can see that reminder. Again, remember when I said my kiddos would come home and get that wrinkly thing out of their bag at 9 o'clock at night and tell me they needed marshmallows for building a bridge project? That frustrated me. So if I had something that, my child maybe still needed to be responsible and tell me, but man, I had that reminder on my computer. As a family member, I would greatly appreciate that heads up. And this just took me 2 seconds to build and write, and it really does communicate such a message to families. Again, if I had children or families in my classroom that were English language learners, I could create individual pages based on their needs. So if we were reading a picture book in class, like Stregonona, I might include resources in both languages to support their learning at home in here and share it just with them. So within the Google Classroom, you're able to develop these individualized forms, surveys, questionnaires that really can support the development of your own schedule and curriculum. Again, as you can see there, it integrates right with the calendar. And what I love is, again, I need things to be time efficient, even for those that are not tech savvy. So creating a form could be daunting. You have to find what site to use. Is it free? Do they have a certain number of users until it times out on you? This one actually is relatively seamless and simple. It doesn't take too much time. It adds it to the tasks on your homepage as well as adds it to the calendar. And again, it's super cool because 90% have those smartphones. We are checking them several times a day. And if that can go straight from my desk to their desk and populate as a reminder, I do think, again, we are really trying to work on those powerful connections, those powerful positive connections for our families. And it's just something that really can benefit teaching going forward. So I needed this to be relevant and needs-based. So, I joke with you guys and I say that it's super cool. It is super cool, but at the same time, if it's not relevant for what I need it to be doing, and if it's not needs-based, meaning individualized, it really only serves one purpose, just me outpouring information. But on the flip side, this is not. This is something where families are truly able to engage in active learning and to go back and forth with me. So to piggyback, I was able to create content for the classroom that's relevant and needs-based. And what I like most about this is the direct alignment to Google Drive. And this really houses most of my documents. So the documents on my computer, but I do share many of them on Google Drive simply because I don't want anything to happen to them if my computer fails. So I really wanted to have them easily accessible, and I'm able to drag and drop what I want into folders straight from Google Drive to this classroom. So I can offer families a little bit of winter books to read with their children. I can offer them a spring fling list. I can offer them math activities with YouTube videos that they can do at home. I can just offer them so many resources. And again, that one spot, that one classroom that's available 24/7 in an organized manner for them to access any time on their phones, on their computers, absolutely anywhere, anytime. So I'm sorry, I'm just going to, here we go. Okay, so another feature that I love is that you're able to personalize the sharing of these folders, like I said. And the cool thing about it is once the students use the code to come into your classroom, you can then select who you want to receive certain folders. So if I had a family that was English language learners, I may choose to share with them several English language learner resources that they could utilize in their home that also have a connection to what we're doing in the classroom. I will tell you, I tested this out with test subjects and they thought it was positive because, again, they weren't going to any other places. They had that direct link there. I wasn't giving them a piece of paper with a website on it that they could have possibly typed something incorrectly. And it just was one of those things that you can integrate several forms of technology into this one spot. YouTube videos, video messages, like I said, and it's one of those things that families are able to come back and forth with you, and they can even tape, if they have, obviously a taping software on their phone or their device, they're able to send something back for you. So I can totally envision this, using this to share with a child that maybe a child has a special day or they reach a benchmark. Just video that in the classroom and shoot that out to the parents. It takes away having to share your personal phone number with parents, having your personal phone on the side and you're out to dinner and, you don't necessarily want those texts then and there. But if you have it on this site, you're able to, number one, send it to the parents, and also they're able to send it back. And again, it's one of those things, if it's not a great time for them or you're really kind of taking that dynamic out. So it makes that communication less pressuring. It makes that communication more welcomed and really just, again, turns that flip to positive. So creating a video message and sharing it privately is such a great way to just daily, really quick check in with some of your families and show them what's going on. Okay, so support. So again, I talked a lot about this in the last webinar, but there are so many tools outside of what you use in the classroom that families would completely benefit from. One of my very favorites is Storyline Online, and it's really where actresses and people who are famous go on and do read-alouds online. This is an awesome model of the reading process for families to see how a book is read. The readers often model prosody and intonation. They read with a not monotone voice. They are able to look at the pictures and kind of stop at those key words and enunciate and just really have a great model of reading. I used to just send this link home in an email, but very often it got lost, or the parents, they didn't necessarily know how to turn their pop-up blocker off, and it kind of enabled them from getting there. This can be embedded right into Google Classroom so that they can click where you see that little play button, and it brings up the video for them. So if we're reading Strega Nona in the classroom, I can then post an announcement with this resource and just further support the families. Take out that guessing where to go. Take out that, technology, hindrance that so many times prohibits our families from truly connecting and engaging in our classroom. So I just think this is so great because the embedding of multimedia and the embedding of links all in one place is conducive to our families. I would love to build this resource out over time to just include several links to the literature I use in my classroom. And I just think it would be so cool for families to have that access for them in their own time, anytime. And that just, to me, just makes these partnerships so much more valuable and useful, as well as just maintainable, which is huge in the world of education. Man, our kiddos, our families are so different. When I think about my own home, I really do think about where I was in this battle between wanting to be a part of my own children's education, and truly being a part of it. And I greatly appreciate when teachers now can build purposeful, valuable, efficient, and effective ways to create and maintain these homeschool partnerships. And I think that using these digital tools such as Google Classroom, where it really allows us to kind of break that communication and collaboration diameter, to really kind of get into the insides of diverse homes. It's not going to look the same in each home. It's really not. These apartments, these homes, these condos, these rooms do not look the same. But you know what? It could be this one tool, this one spot that every one of these rooms is clicking into, logging into in some manner to create the dynamic partnerships. I do think that there needs to be opportunities for outreach outside of this technology tool, this digital tool. So this is a great starter of these relationships, but I still do welcome visitations and open houses and the value of being able to come home after a long day of work and going to sporting practices and know you're going to go to open house later in the month, but maybe that day you can click a button to learn more about what your child did in class today. And then, you're able to discuss that at dinner, and that just opens up a whole dialogue. You feel more connected to their classroom, and you know what? Your child is in turn going to feel that value because you know what's going on. You understand what's going on. You have a place to go for resources, and you just have that constant connection to their classroom. And I think busy families today appreciate having these tools and resources at their fingertips. I think it allows them to learn more about what their child is doing. And I also think that it's not that bothersome way that I was really feeling. It's not that pressuring way, but it really opens up more of a welcoming and inviting and an active, engaging way that we have the tools and knowledge and resources to use now and just need to kind of change our practices. So that being said, I still, to this day, remember the hours spent in car rider lines and practice, waiting to pick my kiddos up from school, sitting inside of a football practice of my car and just, scrolling through my phone. I think that this tool would be, as an educator for me, just a way that I could build a family partnership. As a mom, I want to check in. I want to support school, and I want to support it with a pleasing mindset. And I think that I have this downtime, and I think this could be a way for our population and generation of educators to reach our population and generation of students and families. Each and every one of our families are unique. They have a unique makeup and circumstance. And I know that we all want to build positive partnerships. We just need to find these little ways, these little digital tools that give us that broad scale outreach, but that differentiated, individualized, and comforting option. I know that I plan to use this more, and I do hope that you can find a part of this that you can at least challenge your thinking a little bit, to see how you might change a practice, even if it's just one practice, to really work towards building that positive partnership for your students. So I am now going to come back on video, and I'm actually going to just ask Dr. Shipley to stop the recording, and then we will go live with any questions or comments